To Law and You, normally hosted by Mr. Bukhari. As you know, he's currently in Pakistan. I am Mrs. Bailey Perkins, a senior solicitor and associate of Mr. Bukhari, and we're here to give you some legal advice in relation to immigration law. I understand we do have some calls. If we can take the first call.
Yes.
Hello.
हम कॉल्स के सिलसिले की तरफ बढ़ते हैं. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, can I speak to the solicitor, please?
Yes, you can. Can I take a name, please?
This is Mahmood speaking.
Mahmood, where are you calling?
From London.
Calling from London.
Hello, good evening, Mahmood. How can I help you?
I just want to know that I've launched my JR in the court, and they asked for the extension. You know, the Home Office. They're dealing between Home Office and the solicitors. Like, you know, I give my case to the solicitors, and they put the JR, and then the Home Office give the court they ask for the time from the court for 21 days, which has been extended twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is now they ask the court asks them they can't give them more time to the Home Office. They ask them to file the the defense.
Yes.
File the defense. Now they are asking. So I just want to know that how long this procedure will take, and how long it will. I mean, I just want to know about the time period, because they already took the 2 extensions from the Home Office. I mean, Home Office took twice the extensions, and now they are waiting. Now the court asked them to file the defense now. I just want to know how long the procedure will take. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your call. Unfortunately, TSOL, which is the barristers for the Home Office, are requesting many extensions of time. They're not ready to proceed. Now, as you've mentioned, that the courts have actually confirmed that the case must go ahead, it would then force the Treasury solicitors to lodge a defence or grant you leave. It's also an option to agree with your solicitors to possibly allow you for them to reconsider your case by way of a consent order. Timescale will depend on what action is taken. It can be a few months because it still needs to be put in a queue for the judge to actually make a decision, having considered your JR application and the defence that the Treasury solicitors put forward. So timescale can be a few months, but it is possible for the solicitors, Treasury solicitors and your solicitor to come to some agreement for your case to ideally be reconsidered by them. So this might be an opportunity for your solicitor to request that. I hope that assists you.
Thank you, Ms. Next, अगली कॉल की जाने बढ़ते हैं. Hello.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
वालेकुम सलाम.
हाँ जी, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि मेरे वालिद साहब आए हैं, मेरे बिहाफ मैंने उनको बुलाया यहाँ पर, उनका वो पाकिस्तान में कोई नहीं था. जी,
अपना नाम पहले बता दीजिएगा और बता दीजिएगा कहाँ, नाम अपना बताइएगा प्लीज.
लगेगा या क्या होगा?
सॉरी, नाम बताइएगा अपना प्लीज.
सॉरी,
आपने नाम अपना बताइएगा.
नाम?
जी, नाम बता दीजिएगा अपना. कौन बात कर रहा है?
लतीफ़ कर रहा हूँ.
जी लतीफ़, आपने अपने पेरेंट के बारे में बताया कि वो अकेले हैं पाकिस्तान से, आपने उनको स्पॉन्सर किया है या करना है? अब अपना क्वेश्चन पूछ लीजिए.
ना, मैंने इधर उनको बुलाया, 3 साल का उनका वीज़ा लगा है, इंडेफिनेट लीव टू रिमेन.
ठीक है.
तो वो पब्लिक फंड वगैरह नहीं ले सकते, तो आया कि 3 साल के बाद उनका क्या स्टेटस होगा?
आपने बताया कि उनका 3 साल का लगा है, लेकिन आपने अप्लाई इंडेफिनेट लीव टू रिमेन के लिए किया था और उन्होंने 3 इयर्स ग्रांट कर दिए.
ठीक,
ऐसे हुआ है जी?
या मैं उनको बोला था ना, उस 65 साल से ऊपर है तो उनका पीछे है कोई नहीं संभालने वाला.
ठीक है.
मेरे डिपेंड नहीं.
ओके.
तो मैं उनको इधर से पैसे भेज रहा हूँ, तो मैं चाहता हूँ मेरे साथ आ जाएं, तो उन्होंने 3 साल का वीजा दे दिया.
इंडेफिनेट लीव नहीं दी अभी?
अभी उस बोर्ड पर लिखा है इंडेफिनेट लीव टू रिमेन, लेकिन नीचे मेरा नाम लिखा हुआ है, पोस्ट मिस्टर मोहम्मद लतीफ.
ठीक है. और आपका सवाल है कि बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं कि नहीं?
जी.
ओके, ठीक है. मैं अभी आपसे जी थैंक यू फॉर योर कॉल मिस्टर लतीफ़. मैं अभी मिसेस पर्किंस से आपके सवाल का जवाब देता हूँ. मिसेस पर्किंस, क्वेश्चन अबाउट over 65 years old dependent father who's been granted indefinite leave to remain. The question is about benefits. When can he start receiving benefits, the state funds?
Generally, when the application is made, it would be made on the proviso that you're not entitled to receive any public funds. It would be like a sponsorship declaration that you're signing to say that you will always be financially responsible for your father. So in terms of timescale, my understanding of it is that it wouldn't be possible for you to then start claiming benefits for your father in accordance with what you've officially signed to declare at the time of your father's application.
And when can he start receiving funds?
As far as I'm concerned, he can't start receiving funds. He shouldn't be entitled to.
Right.
If the leave was granted, indefinite leave was granted, and the actual status document, the residence permit, states that your father is not entitled to any public funds, then that's it. He's not entitled. It's not entitled for a certain period of time. It may be something I'll have to look into, but as far as I'm aware, there isn't actually a time scale.
Ms. B, normally they require to submit a declaration of 5 years not to receive public funds for 5 years.
Okay, well then that would mean it will be the 5 years if that's the case. I haven't had anyone who've come back to me
less than that.
Less than that time.
Thank you.
Okay, so 5 years would be your answer then.
Mr. Latif, जैसे अभी आपने मिस बेली का ओपिनियन सुना, नॉर्मली जब आप सेटलमेंट एप्लीकेशन करते हैं, डिपेंडेंट पेरेंट की सेटलमेंट एप्लीकेशन के साथ वो रिक्वायर करते हैं कि आप एक डिक्लेरेशन सबमिट करें, विच इज़ 5 years डिक्लेरेशन, कि आप 5 साल तक कोई भी फंड्स नहीं लेंगे, आप उनको सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड करेंगे, मेंटेनेंस, अकोमोडेशन, एवरीथिंग आप उनको 5 साल तक कंटिन्यू रखेंगे प्रोवाइड करना, उस वक्त तक नहीं ले सकते, रिसीव नहीं कर सकते। दूसरी जो चीज़ मिस बेली ने बताई आपको वो ये है कि आपका जो एंडोर्समेंट है आपके फादर का, जो वीज़ा का एंडोर्समेंट है, इंडेफिनिट लीव टू एंटर का एंडोर्समेंट, उसके ऊपर लिखा होता है कि आप पब्लिक फंड्स ले सकते हैं या नहीं, प्रोहिबिशन लिखी होती है। आपके सवाल का शुक्रिया, आपकी कॉल का शुक्रिया। हम अगले कॉलर की जानिब बढ़ते हैं। हेलो।
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Who's calling?
My name is Vijay. I applied my case 2.5 years ago as FLRO.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, I'm listening to you.
So what happened after 1 month? It got refused. I'm here with my family, with my young children who are going to be 7 after 6 months. After 1 month, then my solicitor applied for reconsideration or further representation. And now it's been about 2.5 years, and we are still waiting for that reply. What we should do at this stage, or we should wait until my children complete 7 years in this country, and if they do, then can I still pursue that pending reconsideration, or can I take Home Office on the basis of that reconsideration which is pending to High Court? So what's the best remedy I have at this stage?
Okay, if I can just clarify, is it that your child will be 7 years old in 6 months' time?
Yes, in 6 months' time. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
And the reconsideration is pending for the last 2.5 years, and I haven't received any reply, and Home Office is still holding our passports.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your question. I'm hoping I can assist with this one. On the basis that your child will be 7 in 6 months' time, it is an option for you to make a fresh FLRO application. It's actually an FLR in brackets FR application. There's some new forms that came in from the 1st of December. And what the situation would be, so that's one option you can do in 6 months. That may well prove to be the better option rather than making an application for judicial review on the basis that the Home Office, well, if it's 2.5 years, you can't do a judicial review because the 3 months time period would have passed. It would either be to make a complaint or get your MP involved in terms of trying to get a decision on the reconsideration, or ideally I would advise to wait for the 6 months because you're covered by virtue of the outstanding reconsideration that you have. And then when 6 months comes and your child does attain 7 years, make a fresh application. It's likely that that decision will be a lot quicker than the 2.5 years that you've waited so far. The Home Office seem to be making quicker decisions on the more recent applications. Okay, so making a fresh application in 6 months will be what I would advise. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll proceed to the next call. Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Walaikum salam.
Salam.
Can I speak in English, please? With the
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Go on, please.
Okay.
Who's
Basically,
calling?
I've got a question, and the question is, one of my cousins, she's a British citizen,
Okay.
and she's a British citizen herself, but she had a child in Pakistan.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's applied for a British passport, and she went to the Islamabad Embassy in Pakistan, and they've taken everything, all the paperwork, and they've sent all the paperwork here to UK, the British Heart Majesty Passport Office.
Okay.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that passport is going to be issued for me, and if it does, and how long does it take, and what's the procedure, please?
Okay. Thank you for the question. Timescales are really determined by the passport office. Around this seasonal time, there are some delays at the passport office. But generally, if you've given all the relevant documentation and you've signed all the relevant forms, then there should be no reason why they are delaying the application. It's just to make sure that you've provided all the required supporting documents in order to prove that the child is entitled to be to make the application, that there's a relationship with the parent, and that the parent has British citizenship to enable that child in turn to get that status. That will be the only thing. So timing could be a couple of months. It really depends on the passport office and how many applications they have outstanding. But if they've referred it over, they may well have other queries. But just ensure that you keep up to date with any correspondence that they send to you, so that if they do ask for further documentation, you're able to provide that in a short space of time. But I would suggest if it's transferred to here, then it looks as if something's being progressed somewhere. So you're more looking at a final decision than not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey Perkins, for your assistance. Should we proceed to this?
Please.
You want to take more calls?
Yes, we're happy to do that.
We'll proceed to the next caller. Hello, who's calling?
Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening. I have a question regarding my brother's status.
And who's
he
calling?
came in this 2004 February, and his 10 years will be completed next year in 2014 in February. In all these 10 years, he went back to Pakistan just twice, but in one of his stays there, he ended up having an accident, and he had head injuries and other problems, so he couldn't travel for 9 months. Then he came back, and since then, he hasn't went back to Pakistan. I just wanted to find out, can he apply on a 10 years basis for his indefinite?
And can I take your name, please?
My name is Mrs. Hussain.
Mrs. Hussain, thank you for your...
So can I just, before you come off the line, you mentioned something happened in February. Can you confirm what happened in February? Is it of this year, was it?
No, not this year.
No, you mentioned at the outset.
It was in 2006 when he went back to Pakistan.
Okay.
And he ended up having an accident there.
Right,
so
in February 2006.
He was supposed to stay there for 3 months only.
Yes.
But because of head injuries and all that, he was unable to travel.
Okay.
But he stayed there for 9 months. Then he came back.
Yes.
And since then, he didn't go back.
Okay.
So basically, in 10 years, he went twice back to Pakistan.
Yes.
In one stay, he lived, and in the other stay, he ended up staying there for 9 months because of head injuries and other problems.
Okay. Thank you for the call. Okay. Right. The general viewpoint when you're applying for indefinite leave based on 10 years lawful residence is that you have been living continuously in the UK for 10 years. And the specific point that's been raised is in relation to how long you can stay outside of the UK. Now, generally, it's no more than 450 days in that time frame. And that's normally worked out as no more than 3 months in any 1 year. The fact that there are exceptional circumstances why he's stayed for longer is a factor that the Home Office can take into consideration. Generally, it's normally more on minor or very brief periods that are outside of that time that they can exercise some discretion. But it is possible, if you can provide the evidence to prove that, you know, your brother's injuries and that he was hospitalized and received care and so forth, they can exercise some discretion. The only other option would be, if it's 2006, it would have to be that he waits till 2016 to then have 10 years without that 9 months break in there, is another option. So it is possible to make the application at the discretion of the Home Office, setting out and providing full evidence. Failing that, to wait until 10 years has been completed from the date of the accident. So 2000, and when she's come back from the accident, or 3 months into him returning from his holiday, and then have a full 10 years without any absences outside of the 3 months time period.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. B, yeah, I would like to ask you some additional information on this. If they make such an application, a set LR application, and there's a gap, apparently there are exceptional circumstances. Yes. What evidence do they need to provide with the application to cover that 9 months gap? Okay. And whether this application, the evidence they need to provide should be local UK evidence, or should it be from the country concerned?
Right. Well, based on the fact that it's 9 months absence from the UK, it will be 9 months evidence of the hospital treatment that he received to show that he was an inpatient, that the accident did occur, that he had received these injuries, photographic evidence, so there'll be hospital reports, photos that will prove this. There'll be the ticket to show that he did leave and come back in at that specific time, that the initial intention was for him to come back in a shorter space of time. If there is any evidence from the UK, it might be where he maybe was coming back to work and has to call work in order to get further annual leave or time off work unpaid or whatever. And there's that evidence to prove that he was actually outside of the UK for this predicament that he was in. And
he might also have received medical treatment in the UK?
Yes, there's ongoing treatment, yes, of course. And as I said, photographic evidence is also available as well. And no doubt, if it was such a serious injury, there should be medical evidence from here as well that he's receiving as an ongoing concern.
Thank you for your advice. I'm sure it's valuable to our listeners and viewers. We'll proceed to the next call now. Hello, who's calling?
Hello, hi there. It is Ranjit.
Hello.
Ranjit.
Hello,
Ranjit, where are you calling from?
Ranjit, I'm calling from London.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Ranjit.
Hi, actually I have a question. I mean, I applied for the entrepreneur visa and I won my appeal in October. Okay. And I went to the court after that, and the judge allowed my appeal straight away because that was the unfair decision. And I got full determination and I got fees rewarded back. So, could you tell me how long it takes? It's more than 3 months. I've been waiting to get my passports and, my documents back. So can you tell me how long it can take and what are the opportunities I can push the Home Office and get my documents back?
Before we proceed to give you the answer on this, Ranjit, did you confirm with the court that the Home Office did not appeal against the decision of the immigration judge?
No, I spoke to my solicitor as well. They didn't go through actually, and because the decision was, unfair, and they said
the appeal was allowed anyway. The appeal was allowed. That's what you have to. Okay.
Yeah, right. Full determination allowed, and the judge gave decision. There and then.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your call, much. Ranjit. It's a straightforward case of implementation of the appeal.
Yeah.
And,
well, what I would say to you is that on the basis that the Home Office haven't appealed against this decision, this positive decision that's been made by the judge, it's a matter of getting your solicitor to contact the Home Office Presenting Officers Unit in order to push for them to, there's an appeals implementation unit that will deal with this matter. It's a matter of putting pressure on them by way of a letter, setting out the dates, relevant dates, being the date of the decision, the date that you've waited on the Home Office to issue you with your documentation. Getting your MP involved is another option. They do have a ministerial section at the Home Office that only deals with MPs. So putting a kind of a complaint can also be made via your MP and also directly. The UKBA have a complaints section that you can email. And again, setting out the dates, the fact that this delay is affecting you, and that they need to ideally rush to provide your documentation. I know there was also a point that was raised about the fee. The court, you said the judge had awarded you fees, the £140 for an oral hearing, which is the cost. It would be to contact the customer service of the IAC, which is the Immigration and Asylum Chamber. Generally, they want you to put it in writing. So even if you phone them and explain that I'm still waiting for the payment to be made to me, they would generally say to put your request in writing. So when you do that, if you set out the fact that this is a determination, provide them with a copy if necessary, definitely provide the reference numbers. And then you can always, on that same letter, give your bank details to say, well, is it possible for the money to be forwarded into my account? Often they would give a check that they normally would issue to you, but if you give them an option to maybe put the money directly into your account, it might be, it might be that you get the money a bit quicker. But generally, it's a matter of just putting pressure on them. They do very much have a huge backlog, so you just have to really be on them.
And could you also please advise him on the time frame? How long should he be waiting for before he can proceed to make a complaint against the implementation?
Well, I would say to do it now. If the decision was made as of October of this year, that's 2 months. Already, possibly 3, depending on when in October this decision was made. We're now towards the end of December now. So I would say make the complaint now. Say that you've been waiting and they need to really act quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that helps. We'll proceed to the next call now. Hello, who's calling?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम सलाम. नाम बताइएगा जी?
जी मेरा नाम मोहम्मद फारूक है.
जी फारूक.
और मैं लुटन से बात कर रहा हूँ.
जी जी.
तो एक्चुअली मैं यहाँ स्पाउस वीज़े पर आया था.
ठीक है.
2008 को और 2010 को हमारी सेपरेट होगी मेरी और मेरी वाइफ के दरमियान थोड़े से अख्तलाफात हुए.
जी ठीक है.
फिर उसके बाद हमारी बच्ची भी है एक.
जी.
तो मैंने बच्ची के ब्याह पर मैंने
जब आप you came to the UK in 2008 as a spouse of a British citizen apparently, and you separated in 2010. Did you go for
6 महीने का वीजा मुझे मिला.
जी आपने दोबारा कहिएगा आपने अप्लाई किया कब किया था आपने?
मैंने 2010 को अप्लाई किया था.
ठीक है. इंडेफिनिट मिल गया था आपको?
खत्म हुआ तो
इंडेफिनिट मिला था आपको?
एक हफ्ता पहले मैंने अप्लाई किया था, यानी कि FLR दिया था.
तो आपको इंडेफिनिट नहीं मिला था उसको?
जी.
इंडेफिनिट के लिए अप्लाई किया था या एक्सटेंशन के लिए?
एक्सटेंशन के लिए अप्लाई किया था मैंने. तो फिर उसके बाद मुझे 6 महीने का वक्त खत्म हुआ तो फिर मैंने अप्लाई किया तो उन्होंने मुझे 3 साल का वीज़ा दिया, लिमिटेड इंडेफिनिट लीव टू रिमाइन. तो अभी मेरा वो 3 साल का वीज़ा वो ख़त्म होने वाला है. क्या या मैं बच्ची के ब्याह पर मैं अप्लाई कर सकता हूँ इंडेफिनिट स्टे के लिए कि नहीं?
जी ठीक है, मुझे आपका सवाल समझ आ गया है, आपके हालात भी समझ आ गए हैं. मैं अभी मिसेस पर्किंस से आपका सवाल का जवाब आपके लिए जो बेहतर मशवरा है वो लेके अभी आपसे बात करते हैं. आपकी कॉल का शुक्रिया.
थैंक यू.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Farouk calling from Luton. Yes. He extended applied for extension of his spouse visa, but apparently because of the separation, he was granted DLR, which is now expiring, and he has a child, but separated from the wife. So in these circumstances, he wants to know whether he can apply for indefinite leave to remain, or he can just apply for extension of his DLR, discretionary leave.
Do we know how long he's had DLR for?
For 3 years in 2010.
Okay. What I would advise is that you make a further application for 3 years discretionary leave. once you've had a total of 6 years discretionary leave, because you would have made your application prior to the changes of July 2012. So therefore, you apply for a further extension. Once you've completed the 3 years discretionary leave, then you're entitled to apply for indefinite leave to remain. As to the reasons why you would be granted that 3 years, you'd have to, in a sense, rely on your circumstances here in the UK. So your child would clearly be a relevant factor. If you have any contact with the child, that will be something that will need to be raised in support of the case. But definitely 3 years discretionary leave, totaling 6, then entitlement for indefinite leave at that time.
Thank you, Mrs. Perkins, for your advice on this matter. I'll explain it to Mr. Farooq. Mr. Farooq, आपने जैसे सुना आपकी सूरत हाल में दो आपने सवाल पूछे थे. इनफैक्ट एक तो सवाल ये था कि बच्चे की बेस पे आपको अप्लाई करना चाहिए. एक्चुअली आपके जो ओवरऑल सर्कमस्टांसेस हैं उनकी बेसिस पे आपको DLR मिली थी 3 साल की, और अभी अगर आप नई एप्लीकेशन डालेंगे बच्चे के बेस पे तो उसमें वो ज़्यादा लंबा हो जाएगा आपका ILR का सफ़र. तो इंडेफिनिट लीव अभी आप अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते. आपको अभी करना चाहिए DLR की एक्सटेंशन के लिए अप्लाई करना चाहिए. उसमें जो बेसिस होगी वो ये होगी कि जो आपके हालात थे 2010 में वो भी चल रहे हैं. जैसा आपने बताया आपका स्पाउस से सेपरेशन है आपकी उस वक़्त से, और बच्चा आपका एक बच्चा है UK में, तो आपकी DLR की बेसिस यही होगी कि आपके जो सर्कमस्टांसेस हैं 2010 वाले वो अभी तक वैसे ही बरकरार हैं, और उस वजह से आपको अनदर 3 इयर्स एक्सटेंशन मिलेगी. जब आपके 6 इयर्स DLR पे पूरे होते हैं फिर आप ILR के लिए अप्लाई करेंगे. आपकी कॉल का शुक्रिया. हमें उम्मीद है कि इससे आपको अपने मामले की सही सूरत हाल का अंदाज़ा हो चुका होगा, और आपको आइंदा क्या करना है ये भी आपको मालूम हो चुका होगा. शुक्रिया. नाज़रीन, अभी हमें छोटी सी एक ब्रेक लेंगे. हमारे साथ रहेगा. वापस आते हैं ब्रेक के बाद. शुक्रिया.
Hello and welcome back to Law and You. We're here to take some calls regarding, so we can give you legal advice on immigration law.
कानून और आप में वेलकम बैक. हम आपकी मुशावरत का सिलसिला जारी रखे हुए हैं. आपको अपने कीमती मशवरों से नवाज रहे हैं. हम कॉल्स का सिलसिला जारी रखेंगे और अब हम बढ़ते हैं अगली कॉल की तरफ. हेलो, हु इज़ कॉलिंग?
हेलो, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
वालेकुम सलाम जी, कौन बात कर रहे हैं?
जी, असद बात कर रहा हूँ बर्मिंघम से.
जी असद.
Actually, I've got 2 questions.
Yep, go on.
I need to apply for my indefinite leave to remain next month on the basis of 10-year legal long residence.
Okay.
The thing is that last year in December, I got 6 penalty points on my driving license via court, as well £200 fine. My visa is going to apply as well in next month in January. I've got my wife with me as well, yeah. So, shall I need to apply for my indefinite leave to remain? Does it affect on my application as well, this 20 points? And what visa do I need to apply for my wife as well, yeah? Because our visas are going to be finished next month as well. And I need to apply for my indefinite leave to remain next month as well. Can you please assist or give me any advice regarding this, please?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for your call, Asad. We will get you proper advice on this.
Okay.
6 penalty points must be.
Right. Well, it will affect your application, unfortunately. 6 points is a more of a serious offence rather than a minor one. If it was that it was a minor offence, it's possible for the Home Office to exercise some discretion. But where you're looking at 6 points and a fine of £200, the fine is in a sense something that stays on your record for 5 years. It may well be more prudent for you to apply for an extension of time until this time frame passes. I can see it's more likely than not that the application will be refused on the basis of your good character, which is what this would kind of come under. So unfortunately, it's something that would definitely affect your application. In terms of your wife, if she satisfies the 10-year requirement in her own right, then she will be able to apply on her own, and you would be the one to apply for an extension of stay.
Thank you for your advice in this matter, Ms. B. Which application forms do you recommend?
It's on the set LR is the application form for the long residence indefinite leave. If it is that he is applying, then it would be for the FLRO application to extend your stay in the UK. I mean, they do look at, your good character when it comes along residence.
Thank you. Asad, you got your answer to your question and proper advice on how to proceed with your leave to remain application. Thank you for calling. We'll proceed to the next call. Hello.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम सलाम जी, कौन बात कर रहे हैं?
हेलो, मैं अली बात कर रहा हूँ ब्रेडफोर्ड से।
जी अली, आप
मैं आपसे एक दो क्वेश्चन है जी मेरे।
जी जरूर पूछिए।
पहले तो ये कि मेरे भाई की मतलब वीजा रिफ्यूज हो गया था, स्पाउस ना।
स्पाउस वीजा रिफ्यूज, स्पाउस वीजा से मुराद है आपकी एंट्री क्लियरेंस।
जी जी जी, तो वो ऐसा कि हमने अपील मतलब है, फिर वो हमें आई तो माशाल्लाह हमारा केस बुखारी साहब ने ही लड़ा था और अल्लाह के हुक्म से वो काफ़ी मतलब है कि वो हम अपील जीत गए।
जी जी।
और मैं बात कर रहा हूँ ब्रेडफोर्ड से, शायद अली के नाम से मुझे मिस पर्कन शायद उनको याद दिया आ जाएगा। और खाली एक बात ये पूछनी थी कि माशाल्लाह हमें कॉल वहाँ से आ चुकी है इस्लामाबाद से ना,
जी जी,
उनके वीज़ा के लिए। और दूसरी बात है कि मैं उनका एक छोटा बच्चा जो है ना 2 माह के साथ थे ना, और बाकी छोटा जो है ना वो मेरे भाई के ब्रिटिश होने के बाद पैदा हुआ। तो अब उनका मतलब है कि अप्लाई करना है ब्रिटिश पासपोर्ट के लिए, क्योंकि उनको तो ब्रिटिश पासपोर्ट ही मिलेगा ना। तो खाली मैं ये पूछना चाहता था कि वो क्या प्रोसीजर है उनके लिए, डॉक्यूमेंट्स क्या क्या दरकार होंगे और मतलब है कितना टाइम लग जाएगा। और ये बात और भी पूछनी है कि ये जो वीज़ा मतलब उन्होंने कॉल की है तो मतलब वालदा और 2 बच्चों को कितनी देर में उनका वीज़ा ये लगा देंगे। और मैं आप लोगों का बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ, और ख़ास तौर से बुखारी साहब का जिन्होंने हमारा केस बहुत अच्छे तरीके से लड़ा। और प्लीज़ मुझे इस
जी जी, शायद अली, आपकी कॉल का शुक्रिया। आपको मुबारक हो कि आपका इमिग्रेशन का मसला जो है वो हल हो चुका है। और बुखारी साहब को आपने याद किया, अगले हफ्ते आपको बुखारी साहब से मुलाकात भी हो जाएगी इसी शो में। आपके 2 सवाल हैं। एक पहला सवाल है, स्पाउस वीज़ा was refused and then appeal was allowed, and now it's in the implementation process. And during the implementation, there is a new child born, and because the mum of the child is a British national, so they can apply for British passport directly for the child.
Okay.
The requirements for the British passports are their basic requirements. You need to contact the British High Commission in Islamabad, Pakistan. They'll give you the forms and the list of documents to be enclosed. Basically, it's the mother's evidence of mother's nationality and the birth certificates and similar documents. आप जब उनसे कांटेक्ट करेंगे वो आपको एक लिस्ट ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट्स दे देंगे। बेसिकली ये माँ के ब्रिटिश होने का सबूत होगा और बच्चे के पैदाइश और बच्चे का उनसे रिलेशनशिप का सबूत आपसे मांगेंगे। इसमें मसला नहीं होना चाहिए, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड एप्लीकेशन होनी चाहिए। इसमें ज़्यादा टाइम भी, चंद हफ्तों में आपको लेस दैन फ्यू वीक्स में एक्चुअली आपको ये पासपोर्ट बच्चे का मिल जाना चाहिए। इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ द डिसीजन जहाँ तक ताल्लुक़ है आपके भाई की वीज़ा ग्रांट होने का, अगर आपको ब्रिटिश हाई कमीशन ऑलरेडी कांटेक्ट कर चुका है, उन्होंने आपसे पासपोर्ट मांगा होगा, आप पासपोर्ट उनको प्रोवाइड करें। जिस तरीके से उन्होंने आपको कांटेक्ट करने के लिए जो कांटेक्ट की डिटेल्स दी हैं उन पर रब्ता करें, तो होपफुली कपल ऑफ वीक्स में ही वो आपका पासपोर्ट एंडोर्स कर देंगे। उसके बाद आप अपने बच्चे का पासपोर्ट मीनवाइल करवा के बच्चा और बाप दोनों इकट्ठे आ सकते हैं। आपकी कॉल का शुक्रिया। उम्मीद है कि आपको जिस तरह अली बुखारी की एडवाइस और उनकी प्रैक्टिकल जो प्रोफेशनल सर्विसेज हैं उनसे फ़ायदा हुआ, उसी तरह आपको फ्यूचर में जो दूसरे 2 छोटे छोटे मामलात हैं इनमें भी कोई मसला नहीं होगा और जल्द ही आपकी फैमिली आपके पास होगी। अगली कॉल की जानिब बढ़ते हैं। हेलो, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। हेलो, अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी, आपकी मुझे आवाज़ नहीं अभी तक सुनाई दी।
हेलो।
हेलो जी।
हेलो।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम सलाम जी, कौन बात कर रही हैं?
मिसेस शाह।
जी मिसेस शाह, आप कहाँ से कॉल कर रही हैं?
मैं लंदन से।
जी, आपका क्या सवाल है आपका? What's your question, Mrs. Shah?
I want to ask, what's the law? मैंने पाकिस्तान शादी की है।
आपका अपना इमिग्रेशन स्टेटस क्या है आप?
Sorry, I'm British.
You are British citizen, और आपने you are married in Pakistan. When did you get married in Pakistan?
2 years ago.
3 years ago. So what's your question today, Mrs. Shah?
मैं अपने हस्बैंड का केस लेना चाहती हूँ। लो क्या है? पहले it was you have to be earning 18,600.
That's right. That's the
मैंने
financial
सुना
requirement.
चेंज हो गया, is that right?
नहीं, चेंज अभी लॉ नहीं हुआ, बट यस अदालत में, कोर्ट में एक केस जा रहा है जिसके बारे में अपडेट अभी हम मिस बेली से लेते हैं। तो आपका अभी आज का सवाल क्या है?
Sorry?
आपका अभी सवाल यही है, आपको मालूमात चाहिए कि आपको एप्लीकेशन के लिए क्या रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं?
मालूमात चाहिए कि
जी शुक्रिया।
केस कैसे दूँ मैं और सब कुछ कैसे वर्क होता है, you know?
जी ठीक है। हम आपके लिए अभी मिस बेरी से मैं आपका सवाल उनको पूछता हूँ, उनसे हम रखता हूँ और उनसे इस बारे में मालूमात भी लेते हैं और एडवाइस भी लेते हैं। आपकी कॉल का शुक्रिया। Thank you. Ms. B, the caller is interested to know, she's a British national married to a Pakistani national 3 years ago. Now she wants to bring over her spouse.
Okay.
So she's interested to know whether the 18,600 financial requirement is there. Is there any chance that they will reduce it?
Okay.
And what are the other requirements for a spouse visa? Entry clearance.
Okay. In relation to the first question, there is a current case ongoing at the moment called MM and Aurs, and in that case this same financial requirement is being discussed, where it's been determined that the 18,600 is quite high and a lot of people are unable to actually adhere or satisfy this requirement because of how much it is. Because of this, we're waiting to see, one, whether they'll reduce that figure, and also whether they'll include other factors like third-party sponsorship, whether they'll take into consideration the potential earning capacities or offers of employment for your husband, in a sense, here in the UK. So we're possibly expecting a decision from the Court of Appeal in March of next year, 2014. So we're waiting to see eagerly, what's going to happen on this, because it will definitely have an impact on several thousands of people's cases at the moment, which are pending, waiting for this decision to come through. In relation to the second part of the question, what other requirements are to be met, it's important for you to be able to prove that this is a genuine marriage that you are in, that you have both met and you both intend to live together permanently here in the UK. You also have to be able to, in addition to the maintenance requirements, which as I said is yet to be fully determined, but in addition to be able to prove that you can maintain your husband or your spouse without recourse to public funds, you also have to be able to prove that you can accommodate him as well. So those are generally the requirements, as well as the English language test. It's actually at the A1 level at the moment for the English language, and it has to be at an approved education provider. It's very important that you look on the Home Office website. They do give you details of institutions that can offer the courses that are accepted by the UKBA, so as to avoid your application being refused. Just a quick point that if it is that you make an application and the only reason why your application is being refused is based on your finances, what the embassies are currently doing is writing to you, letting you know that your case fits within that criteria and giving you the opportunity to provide any further evidence that was relevant at the time of the application. There might have been a savings account that someone could have omitted. So they give you an opportunity to provide that evidence, and if it is that they accept that you adhere to the requirements, they will then grant the visa. If not, they will put your case on hold pending the outcome of this Court of Appeal matter in the case of MM. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Perkins, for your thorough answer and your valuable advice. Back to Mrs. Shah. आपने अभी Mrs. Perkins से सुना, उम्मीद है आपको बेसिक चीज़ें तो समझ आ गई होंगी। उन्होंने बड़ा तफसील से बताया कि जो फाइनेंशियल रिक्वायरमेंट है 18,600 की, ये कोर्ट में अभी जारी है इसका केस, और मार्च में ये इसका उम्मीद है कि फ़ैसला आ जाएगा। मार्च के आखिर में थोड़ा बहुत चेंजेस हो सकती हैं, कमी भी हो सकती है, और दूसरे कुछ ऑप्शन जैसे थर्ड पार्टी सपोर्ट भी शायद वो कंसिडर कर रहे हैं। इसका फ़ैसला मार्च में आएगा। बाकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स जो हैं वो हैं अकोमोडेशन की, कि आपके पास उनके रहने के लिए मुनासिब इंतज़ाम है, और ये कि आपका रिलेशनशिप जेन्युइन है, सबसिस्टिंग है, अभी तक आपका कांटेक्ट भी है उनके साथ, और ये कि वो लैंग्वेज रिक्वायरमेंट मीट करते हैं जो कि A1 लेवल की है। आपकी कॉल का शुक्रिया। अगली कॉल की जानिब बढ़ते हैं। हेलो जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
हेलो
हेलो जी, मुझे आपकी आवाज़ नहीं आ रही।
हेलो
हेलो जी, नाम बताइएगा अपना।
हेलो हेलो
हेलो, आई कैन हियर यू।
मेरा नाम सिमरन है
जी सिमरन।
हाँ जी, हमारे ना किसी रिलेटिव्स के उनके बारे में पूछना है।
गो ऑन, व्हाट्स योर क्वेश्चन? क्या सवाल पूछेंगे आज आप? सिमरन, अपने टीवी की आवाज़ आहिस्ता कर लीजिए और हमसे फ़ोन पे बात कीजिए।
रिलेटिव है, उनका लेक्सी का केस है, उनको 4 साल हो गए पेंडिंग पड़े को।
जी जी,
तो उनके बारे में पूछना है। और एक दूसरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि उनका जो
आपका
बच्चा
सवाल क्या है उनके बारे में?
7 ईयर का हो जाएगा कि वो लेक्सी की वेट करे कि वो 7 ईयर के केस का कि बच्चे के बेसिक पर लगाए। इसका मुझे जवाब दे दीजिए प्लीज।
सिमरन, आपकी आवाज़ थोड़ी ब्रेक हो रही थी शुरू में। आपने ये बताया कि आपके कोई रिश्तेदार हैं जिनका लेगेसी केस
हाँ जी, उनका लेगेसी केस 4 साल से पेंडिंग पड़ा हुआ है।
पेंडिंग फॉर द लास्ट 4 years. So and now he has a 7 years old child. उनके बच्चे की उम्र 7 साल हो चुकी है अभी?
नहीं, वो नेक्स्ट ईयर में 7 साल
नेक्स्ट ईयर। ओके, सो 7 years, द चाइल्ड कंप्लीटिंग नेक्स्ट 7 years नेक्स्ट ईयर। सो इस पे आपको मशवरा चाहिए।
थैंक यू
जी, आपका भी शुक्रिया कॉल कर। हम आपके लिए अभी इस पे मशवरा भी लेते हैं और आपके सवाल का जवाब भी। शुक्रिया। समरीज apparently it's a legacy matter pending for the last 4 years. That's how they know.
Okay.
And the child is now going to be 7 next year.
Okay, we don't know exactly when next
No,
year.
we don't know exactly when.
Okay.
So what is the way forward, the best way forward on this matter?
The reason why I was wanting to know when next year, because definitely if it's like next year December, that's a whole year that you're having to wait. If it's kind of like January, February, or early part of the year, that would have a bearing. The legacy was a policy, amnesty policy set up by the Home Office in order to kind of deal with the backlog of cases. They did have a plan to deal with cases a lot earlier and sooner than now. They expected to have all cases dealt with from 2006 to 2011. However, time has extended. Now, the most you could be looking for now, because they've taken such a long time to deal with your legacy, is limited leave in this country. The people who were dealt with earlier were given indefinite leave, but now the people who are now going to be given in legacy are, if it is that it goes through, will be given limited leave. So it's really a matter of looking to see, well, do we wait until the child reaches 7 and make a fresh FR application based on satisfying paragraph 276 ADE of the immigration rules, which is that there's a child under the age of 18 who's attained at least 7 years in this country. As I've mentioned to another caller, the Home Office are dealing with those cases a lot quicker. Legacy at the moment is not being given a priority as it should. Between now and when the child attains the age of 7, I would say just chase up legacy. They do have a direct correspondence address that either you or a prudent, reasonable and responsible solicitor can write to. Failing that, MP, again, they're another vice in which you can tap right into the Home Office as well. And see whether that can assist in trying to get the legacy to be speeded up. But if you know that your child is going to be 7 soon, then I would suggest that you collate relevant documents to support this. Relevant documents being proof of your child's schooling since they've been here. Birth certificate, of course, proving the child's age, as much evidence as possible, photos of the child at school and so forth, to be able to prove the 7 years. But that will be the advice that I would give.
Thank you for your advice on this matter, Ms. B. I'll explain to our viewer, Mrs. Simran. Simran, जैसा कि आपने सुना कि आपके जो रिश्तेदार हैं उनकी सिचुएशन ये है कि उनकी अपैरेंटली लेगेसी में कोई उनकी एप्लीकेशन पेंडिंग है जिसका अभी तक फ़ैसला नहीं आया। चूँकि अभी लेगेसी केसेस क्लोज़ कर रहे हैं مسز پرکنس نے بتایا کہ یہ ان کا پرائیورٹی نہیں ہے, اس کو پرائیورٹی نہیں دے رہے, اور اگر آپ کے بچے کا نیکسٹ فیو منتھس میں جلدی ہی 1 سال کے اندر وہ 7 سال کا ہو رہا ہے, تو ایک طرف آپ کو دیکھنا ہے کہ اگر آپ چیز اپ کریں تو ایم پی کو انوالو کریں, اور آپ کا سولسٹر ان کو چیز اپ کرے کہ لیگیسی کے کیس پہ آپ کا فیصلہ جلدی کریں. اگر آپ کو لگتا ہے کہ اس سے بھی آپ کو 2-4 مہینے میں کوئی فیصلہ نہیں ملتا, تو آپ کو بچے کے بیسس پہ 7 ایئرس کمپلیٹ ہوتے ہی آپ کو اپلیکیشن کر دینی چاہیے, جو کہ FLR اپلیکیشن ہوگی ان بچے کے بیسس پہ, اور اس میں اگر آپ ڈاکومنٹس انکلوز کریں پراپر, جیسے اسکولنگ ڈاکومنٹس ہیں, بچے کی فوٹوگرافس ہیں جو اس کی ایج کو شو کرتے ہیں, بچے کی برتھ کا, اور یہاں رہنے کا سارا ثبوت, جتنے بھی ایویڈنس ہے وہ اکٹھا کر کے اپلیکیشن کریں, تو امید ہے کہ یہ اپلیکیشن جلدی زیادہ کوئکلی جو ہے اس کا فیصلہ آئے گا. اس طرح کی اپلیکیشن جلدی پروسیس ہوتی ہیں ایز کمپیئر ٹو لیگیسی کیس ورک ڈیسیژنس. آپ کی کال کا شکریہ. اگلی کال کی جانب بڑھتے ہیں. ہیلو
السلام علیکم.
وعلیکم السلام جی, کون بات کر رہی ہیں؟
جی میں شائستہ بات کر رہی ہوں بریڈ فورڈ سے.
جی شائستہ,
میرے 2 کوشچن ہیں. ایک تو فرسٹ کوشچن یہ کہ بچوں کے ساتھ ڈیٹینشن کے کتنے چانسز ہوتے ہیں, اور دوسرا کوشچن یہ ہے کہ میرے ہسبینڈ ہیں اسٹوڈنٹ ویزے پہ. اب ہم لوگ فی الحال پاکستان بیک نہیں جا سکتے کیونکہ وہاں پہ حالات ٹھیک نہیں ہیں. ہمیں اسائلم کرنا چاہیے یا فردر لیو ٹو ریمین کے لیے ہمیں اپلائی کرنا چاہیے؟ کائنڈلی مجھے یہ بتا دیں.
آپ مجھے یہ بتائیے گا, آپ ڈیپینڈنٹ ہیں یا وہ ڈیپینڈنٹ؟
میں ڈیپینڈنٹ ہوں جی, میں ڈیپینڈنٹ ہوں, ساتھ ہمارے 3 بچے ہیں.
جی ٹھیک ہے. اور آپ نے سوال پوچھا کہ آپ کو لیو ٹو ریمین کرنی چاہیے, تو آپ کے پاس کوئی اور لیو ٹو ریمین کی بیسس ہے؟
نہیں, اور تو کچھ بھی نہیں ہے, بس یہی ہے کہ وہاں پہ حالات ٹھیک نہیں ہیں.
جی ٹھیک ہے. تو آپ یہاں پہ اس لیے آپ واپس جانے میں رسک محسوس کر رہی ہیں؟
جی ہاں جی, فی الحال وہاں پہ پرابلم ہے. تو بچوں کے ساتھ ہمیں ہیومن رائٹس کی بیس پہ FLR کرنا چاہیے یا اسائلم کرنا چاہیے؟ ہمارا ویزا 29 فروری کو ختم ہو رہا ہے.
جی شکریہ آپ کی کال کا. میں آپ کی صورتحال جو ہے وہ مسز پرکنس کے سامنے رکھتا ہوں, اور ان سے اس پہ مشورہ لیتے ہیں. آپ کی کال کا شکریہ.
تھینک یو.
Thank you.
It's a case of a family on a Tier 4 student's migrant visa, and the wife is dependent. It was a wife who was calling, and they have children, so she has 2 questions, whether in case they have a situation and because they are a family with children, are there any chances of detention? And the second question is, under this situation that they have some problems back home, they have some kind of fear upon return to her her home country. So under these circumstances, do you advise going for an asylum application or making a human rights application?
Okay, if they have a genuine fear of persecution in their country, then an asylum application would be the application to go for, but it's a matter of being able to prove this. In the interest of time, unfortunately, I can't go into much more detail. But if you email, I think the email address was on the screen, info@bukharichambers, there we go, .com, then we can actually give a more qualitative response to that. But an asylum application would be the recourse open. Evidence is required, together with any further information that you would have to prove that there's a problem there.
The human rights application side.
The human rights, it's asylum and human rights. I mean, asylum would be also, asylum is 1951 convention, while the human rights is the Article 8, right to family life, but if there's a fear, it could be Article 2, right to life, Article 3, right not to be tortured or subjected to inhumane or degrading treatment. So as part of the asylum case, human rights will also be a point in there. So it will be both factors that you're putting forward. But I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to us. As you know, we are here to cover Mr. Bukhari, who should be back, hopefully from Pakistan, for the show next week. But we hope that the information that we've been able to give to you has been of benefit to you. And if you do have any further queries or concerns, please contact us by email and we can see what we can do to assist.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. I'll quickly explain it to Shaista. Shaista, آپ نے ابھی بات سنا. آپ نے سنا مسز پرکنس نے آپ کا سچویشن کے مطابق آپ کو بتایا کہ اگر آپ کا کوئی جینون فیئر آف پرسیکیوشن ہے بیک ہوم میں تو آپ کو اسائلم کی اپلیکیشن کرنی چاہیے, جس میں ہیومن رائٹس کے گراؤنڈز بھی کنسیڈر کیے جاتے ہیں. ڈیٹینشن کے بارے میں جو جنرل پریکٹس ہے وہ یہ ہے کہ آپ اگر بچے ہیں تو ریٹین نہیں کیا جاتا. آپ کے سوال کا شکریہ. آپ فردر تفصیل اگر آپ اس بارے میں تفصیلی آنسر چاہتے ہیں تو آپ ہمیں ای میل کر سکتے ہیں. ای میل ایڈریس آپ کو اسکرین پہ نظر آ رہا ہے, info@bukharichambers.com ہمارا ای میل ایڈریس ہے. امید ہے کہ آپ کو آج کے ہفتے کے جو سوال ہیں ان کے جواب نہ صرف سوال پوچھنے والوں کو ان سے فائدہ ہوا ہوگا بلکہ دوسرے سننے والوں کو بھی ان سے مفید معلومات اور فائدہ ہوا ہوگا. اگر آپ مزید سوال پوچھنا چاہتے ہیں تو ہمیں ای میل کریں. اگلے ہفتے مسٹر بخاری ہوپفلی آپ کے ساتھ ہوں گے اسی شو میں, اور ہم بھی وقتاً فوقتاً آپ سے ملاقات جاری رکھیں گے. اگلے ہفتے تک کے لیے اجازت دیجیے. اللہ حافظ. السلام علیکم.